Mike Griffith over at Dog Nation spoke to Vitale last night, and he was speaking about
not Georgia.
No, he wasn't. He was talking about the transfer portal, and he says, and I quote, "Unbelievable wackiness," Vitale called it. "I think what they've opened up is not only the Pandora of breaking up rosters. I think cheating behind the scenes. I think wheeling and dealing behind the scenes. It's ugly. The coaches I've been talking to, and I mean multiple coaches, they say coaches are operating behind the scenes, getting words out through AAU guys, high school guys, whoever their runners are. Hey, tell him if he puts his name in the portal, we'll go after him." Vitale believes that the one-time transfer rule was put in place to help the student athletes to do something positive, to allow the kids to transfer because maybe they are unhappy because they aren't getting the playing time, Vitale said. What is wrong with a kid learning in life? You don't just get up and leave every situation. Life is you get a job, you got to battle through it, and then there are tough times. You're teaching the kids wrong values. What about loyalty? Blah, 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 blah. We have a number of schools, this is public information, that had allegations come their way and charges come their way. No charges, Doug. No charges, Dick. Their way 3 years ago, Dick, and no decision has been made, Vitale said, referring to the multi-year FBI investigation into bribes and corruption in college basketball. Yet their coaches are still operating and taking players away from other schools that maybe would get those kids if there was a penalty. Innocent or guilt, if you can't make a decision, and I agree with him on this statement. This is the only statement I agree with him on in his rant. Innocent or guilty, if you can't make a decision as an organization in 2 years, there's something wrong. Vitale just spewing the madness of Will Wade dropping balls on his head over the weekend, scraping his face with the sport.
The pavement taste, Dick.
I mean, my God, man. Why don't you just come out and say, Dick, why don't you just come out and say Willie Wade's name? Just say LSU basketball is who you're referring to. It's obvious that is the guy and that is the program that you were mad at. I agree with Vitale, and we've been saying this. 2 years down the line, the NCAA hadn't said a word on a ruling on LSU is an absolute joke. That is an absolute
Did anything happen to Arizona
joke.
with DeAndre Ayton?
No, nothing.
No.
Did you see what happened to USC's basketball program? They had an assistant coach arrested on campus like Auburn did, like Arizona did, like Oklahoma State did, USC did with Tony Bland. USC, $5,000 fine. $5,000 fine would be essentially you and I going into your ashtray of your car and chunking a bunch of nickels at the NCAA. I mean, $5,000 to the USC basketball program. No violations, no charge, no probation, no suspension. I think they may have been docked one scholarship over the next 3 years.
That's just asking for charity at that point.
Exactly.
Like, can you write us a check for $5,000? Like, sure.
And remember, they had somebody arrested on their campus that was collecting a check from USC. And that's the consequence that the NCAA has levied. I mean, now, as they continue to swirl and fly around LSU, they ain't got shit on LSU. Because if they did, they'd be knocking on the doorstep saying, this is what we have. For as much as Will Wade has embarrassed this organization, and that's what this is all about now, is the fact that Will Wade has just paraded in front of their face a phone call where everybody in the world thought that you had him dead to rights. And it sounds damning, but since that phone call, you found nothing. Essentially, to the people and the insiders of the NCAA and people like Dick Vitale, this is O.J. Simpson walking away with murder. I mean, you had as much evidence from the NCAA standpoint, seemingly, as O.J. left behind on Bundy. Right? I mean, you've got the head coach of LSU on a wiretap talking to Christian Dawkins, who is the villain of the sport, about paying players. But since then, they have produced nothing of substance, nothing that means anything, that they have evidence pointing to the fact that LSU is cheating. Zero. And they continue to fly around the program in the city and want to administer interviews and want to look at people's phone records and want to look at emails. We've done all this dog and pony show. They've created independent counsels. We can't find anything in the evidence. You guys look at it. It's the same stuff you guys were looking at. There's nothing here. I mean, that's why I believe as well with the way that Wade has operated for the last 3 years with that black cloud hanging over his head, 90% of us would have just tapped out and just said, you know what? This is too much. There's just too much around this. And that's another method that the NCAA was hoping, that either Wade would quit or LSU would succumb to public pressure and say, hey, we can't deal with it anymore. Get out of here. They haven't. Wade's still here. He's getting players. LSU's a winner. And they've got no violations, as Vitale always wants to work into his rants. A lot like his Hall of Fames and his charity success. He'll tell you that schools have been served allegations and violations. Not here. Not in Baton Rouge.
In the world of
they still hadn't even gotten the notice of allegations, Dick, that you have promised and swore would be here for the last 2.5 years. You and I have made bets publicly about the timeline of those getting to Baton Rouge, and still here we are in the middle of 2021, the middle of May of 2021, and LSU's still scooping up players all over the country.
And you're on our couch.
You're right here.
Clown Vitale.
I mean, there has been no one in the social media age that has lost more credibility than Dick Vitale. Just from an athletic standpoint, in our world. I'm trying to think of an example of somebody that has lost more cachet, more reputation, has seen their reputation shift. Their Q rating, Dick Vitale's Q rating before he got on Twitter, I would venture to say was probably somewhere around 95 to 98% likability. I mean, think about it. 3 years ago, I thought Dick Vitale was this lovable personality that had this huge voice and loved college basketball. And anytime I saw Dick Vitale on my television, I immediately thought that must be the biggest college basketball game tonight. And if Dick Vitale was ever in Baton Rouge and LSU must be the centerpiece of the college basketball world. Now when you see him, now when you hear him, we're not the only ones rolling our eyes and laughing at the old man, I can promise you. Listen to national shows like the Dan Le Batard show. Listen to Stu Gatz talk about Dick Vitale. If Vitale's offended on the way that we talk about him, my God, people in his own backyard are calling him senile and lost. I've never seen someone get on a topic and just
not be able to let it go.
Bury himself. He has buried him. He's still talking. This was last night, this interview on Dog Nation. 2 nights ago, when Wade got the letter of intent from Efton Reid, he sent me a simple link with no verbiage to the success of his charity event over the weekend.
Kind of a power play by him.
It is.
I don't even know what it means, but it makes me think. I just don't even. What does that mean, Dick?
It makes me feel sorry for him, actually.
No, it doesn't. It means
Yeah, a little bit. It's kind of sad.
It is sad at this point.
is.
I'm telling you.
I just don't know what it means.
I mean, he
Jordy,
still
yeah.
has
No,
a
not
group
that.
out there.
That I agree with you. That is just kind of like, hey, look at my. Let me pull my nuts out for you.
Yeah, you happy about your recruit?
I'm
watching
still
that?
relevant over here in the charity
while
circle.
you're celebrating Efton
Yep.
Reid, we're pulling in $6.5 million for charity.
Buy my book.
But it is sad. It is sad. And I mean, the Zippy sign.
That's funny.
Is there a new one?
Which one did you see? Hey, Dick Vitale, you mad because LSU basketball's got an F ton of talent? Is that
That
I
kid
mean,
needs
that is a
raise.
first time. That is a first ballot Hall of Famer, bro.
Zippy's single-handedly keeping the sign game alive.
They
Like
really
that should
are.
have been dead and buried a long time
Yeah.
ago, and they're like, they still have one person out there.
Dick
letter
Dick
by
sent
letter.
Dick sent me the silent tweet, the silent link. I just sent him the silent pic.
You did? You sent it to him?
Two could play.
amazing.
Yeah,
He still has a group of people that like really love him that don't really know all the, like fringe people like that love the
No,
Geico
they
commercial or
have
whatever
to
he's
know,
on. And
they have to know, but I mean, it's the older crowd.
It
It's the Rick Pitino's of the world. It's the Roy Williams of the world. It's the old guard of college basketball that Roy Williams is saying, you know what, I'm out. Rick Pitino's saying the only tool that'll take me is Iona.
Hey,
You
they
know
made
what
the
I mean?
tournament.
Yeah, no doubt.
Oh, he's a great
No doubt.
coach.
He's a great coach. He's a great coach, but he's a cheater. And has been cheating since he was at Hawaii in 1974, when he was fired from the staff for paying players in the gym. He was going, which is fine. That is okay.
That's the way you
because
do
you
it.
know why? He was competing against other coaches that were doing the same
Yeah, it's
thing.
been like that forever.
That's the cycle of this deal. That's the ladder of success in college basketball. A young Rick Pitino in 1974 sees and hears the tales of how John Wooden was having success at UCLA and how they were paying players. And Rick Pitino said, hey, I want to have that type of program. I want to have that type of success in college basketball. How do I do that? And the real old heads say, you got to find a system on how you can get away with cheating. That's what you have to do. And that's what all of these schools who are relevant in the sport have done. I mean, let's not be naive, people. College sports is a disgusting industry. I mean, a just tainted, poisoned, polluted business. It is disgusting by nature and has been for decades. Decades. So if we really want to smoke this stuff out, if we really want to find the true perpetrators and where the disconnect is, well, then you're going to have to go all the way down to the root of the tree. You can't just pick a limb and say, hey, Will Wade's cheating. Well, no, Will Wade's trying to beat John Calipari. Will Wade's trying to beat Nate Oates.
Yeah, what do you think they're doing over there?
Will Wade's trying to beat Matt White. I mean, it's they're going after the same players. Zion's dad is on record talking to the Kansas basketball coach, Townsend, in which Townsend offers Zion's dad $200,000. It's on the tape. You think Zion's turning down the $200K in Lawrence to go to Cameron for free? to go to Duke for the brotherhood?
It's for the education.
For the love of the bat, you think Cam Newton left Mississippi State's offer
For
a couple of
nothing.
years ago when the Mississippi State coach said, hey, I'll pay you $250,000 if you come to Mississippi State. And Cam's dad pretty much accepts it verbally on the air, over the phone line. You think he went to Auburn for $230,000? You think he went for less? Well, if you do, that's on you. You know what I mean? That's your problem. Because you got to realize that this whole industry is disgusting, man. The blueprint is simple. The guys that want to be competitors and want to be true players in the sport, you got to play the game. You got to play the game.
If you're not going to pay him, I will.
And anybody that's not playing the game is
Fugazi, dust,
laugh.
gone.
Johnny Jones. I love Johnny Jones. But that's what your program, Trent Johnson. Trent Johnson's program is what you look like when you decide, I got no interest in being a true competitor in the sport. I'll graduate my players. I'll make sure that we run a reputable program. But then you're asking somebody out of the band to walk on to play.
Because he's tall.
Because he's got height.
I could get a shot.
You would have gotten a shot to play for Trent Johnson.
We had open gym, brother.
I mean, they were having I'm not playing. They had a walk on from the band. They had a trombone player.
Tuba.
They had a tuba player
Tuba
as
Steve.
their forward.
You gotta have a strong core to hold it up, you know?
He's a hell of a fouler.
So I just the amount of rent that LSU basketball, Will Wade, and even secondarily media members in South Louisiana hold in Dick Vitale's head is amazing. It is amazing to see how much LSU basketball lives rent free